Welcome back to the QuaranTEENs technology series. Today we're going to be taking a look at a block-based programming language from MIT that is called Scratch. So Scratch is a nice, easy to use language that a lot of schools and other places use to teach the intro to programming, and so it's what we're going to use. So if you go to scratch.mit.edu, which is up here, or you do a search for Scratch, it'll likely come up and you'll come to a website similar to this. You'll have to go to Join Scratch to create an account, or you can just start creating over here. There's a little Create tab, and that'll just make something, but keep in mind if you do close your window, you'll lose all your progress if you don't have an account. It's totally free to create an account, and I suggest you do, so you can come back later and save all your projects so you can look back on them. I've already created an account, so I'll just go to sign in and sign in. And then once you sign in, it'll look something like this. So now you're going to go to create. Now eventually it'll load and it'll look a little something like this. So what you see here is your creation area. So this is one project. The first thing you're going to want to do is name it. So we're going to call this Intro to Scratch, and then just save it so that way when we come back we know what it's called. So now we're going to take a look at the little areas. So we're going to start on the left side here. So in here is all the sections of your different types of code. So you can see all the sections on the side here. There's motion, looks, sound, events, control, sensing, operations, variables, and more blocks. So you can add more, and as you get better, you'll learn what these different things are and you'll get used to them. Today we're mostly just going to use the motion section, the events, and the control. But we'll get back to those later. So in the middle here, this is your coding area. So when we start coding, we'll just drag a block out here. We drag the block out here, so now we have a command. So this command is move 10 steps. So in a few minutes we'll run this command, and when we run this command it's going to move this cat here 10 steps in the direction it's pointing. So this white area here that the cat's in is called the stage. So this is where things happen. So right now it's white. You can go into and create your own stage or backdrop. So you can choose one, you can paint it. I guess there's a random feature that's new, and you can upload a backdrop. But for the purposes of this video, we're just going to use the white backdrop. And then, so the cat here, this is Scratch. Right now, it's just sprite 1. And so there's lots of different sprites you can add. Again, you can do a surprise, you can paint your own, you can choose one from the library, or you can upload a picture. But we're just going to stick with the cat. So, if we go back to our code here, I mentioned we're going to use motion, events, and control. So each one of these blocks is a single instruction. In our last video we talked about how a computer needs all these different instructions to be able to operate. So for right off the bat, you always have to start by going to events and getting one of these blocks. So see how there's nothing above it? That's because these blocks here are the very start of your code. So we are going to grab the one green flag is clicked block, because that basically means when we start this is what's going to happen. So right now we have one green flag clicked, move 10 steps. So if we go over here and we press go or the green flag, we should notice that the sprite moves 10 steps. Now it kind of sucks because it's just moving 10 steps and we have to press it every time we want it to move, and we can't move it back, we can't move it up, we can't change how it looks. We can only move 10 steps. So what we're going to do is we're going to click and drag our sprite, and we're going to put it in the bottom corner here. And so what we're going to do is we want the sprite to move from this corner over here when we press the green flag. So we could start and just say when we move 200 steps, it goes. And so that worked, but that just doesn't look right. It's kind of weird. So we'll go back into motion, we'll try something else. Let's try glide. So we'll move the step block to the side. So we notice this one says glide 1 second to x3, y 152, or negative 152 rather. Now, the stage is a big coordinate grid. If you think back to math class, you have your x and y axis, and there's 5 over and up 10 and whatever. And so this is the same thing. So right in the middle is going to be 0, 0, and you can see it in the bottom left here, what our coordinates are. So if we go over here, we see that the very edge should be about 240. So 240 in the x-axis, and it should be about 180 in the y-axis is the very largest you can go with the stage. So if we have our sprite down here, we want to go to the other side, because that is to the right of the center. That is going to be x240, and because that is below the center, that is going to be negative 180. So we're going to bring our sprite back, we're going to press the green flag, and it goes right into the corner, which is exactly what we want. But we can't see it. So let's try moving it up a bit to 160. We'll bring our sprite back. And there we go. Still can't see him all that much, but he's a bit above the bottom. Now he's off to the edge, so we're just going to bring him up a bit to about 200. Ooh, 200. There we go. And he goes to about that position. So if you drag him over here, then he goes there. That's pretty good. But if you notice, he just kind of goes whatever he wants. So as we get more involved, if we don't want the cat to, or Scratch rather, or the sprite, to just go without doing anything in between, then we can use this glide block. But really that's not the greatest. And you'll see as we get more involved. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down to control, and we're going to grab this block that says repeat. We're going to get rid of this glide for a second. Just get rid of them. And so what this does is anything that's inside this little block here will, once it goes through it all, it'll do it again 10 times. So if we grab our move 10 steps again, then when the green flag is clicked, it'll move 10 steps. Now we can't see it, so we're going to go back to control, and we're going to grab a wait block. We're going to set wait to about 0.5 seconds, so that's half a second. We're going to try that again. And so it looks a little rough, but you can see how each individual step moved. So now that we have that, if we wanted to say, oh, if it got to the point where we had like a road and we wanted to have our Scratch stop before it crossed the road, then we could have a thing in there where every time it moved 10 steps, it would stop and check if it was at the road yet. And so you can see how, because we have this and it can check every 10 steps it moves, it makes it so we can control it a lot better than if we just went right across the screen. It'd be like if we just crossed the road in the middle of Toronto and we decided that, oh hey, there's this donut shop on the other side. We're just going to go right across. But there's, you know, all this traffic and cars. There's probably about 50 cars coming in that direction, and depending on where you are, they're going pretty fast. So it may not be the greatest idea to shoot right across the road. But a computer doesn't have that common sense like you and me, right? So it would just shoot right across. Alright, so I've cleared the screen because I just want to show you one more thing before we end. So back in the motion area, we have these little commands that are turns. So if we say turn 15 degrees to the right, You'll notice, oh, my apologies, that would be a syntax error because we didn't have the command. There we go. So when we press the green flag, you can see that the cat turns 15 degrees. So we're right about back. There we are. So now if we did something where we moved 100 steps and turned 90 degrees, we set our cat to the middle, and we grab our repeat, and then we run the program. Oh, that happened fast. But you can see the sprite goes around. So let's add a wait command. We'll watch that. And we can see that the cat turns, goes down, and keeps turning. Basically, it goes 100 steps in the direction it's facing. So in the bottom corner here, you have the direction. So you can see how it's changing from, oh, we'll run that again. And you can see it's 90, 180, negative 90, 0. Right? So up is 0, down is 180, to the right is 90, and to the left is negative 90. Well, that's going to be it for this week, so I really hope you learned a fair bit about Scratch. I know there isn't a whole lot that we've covered, but it's been a long time. It's been about 10 minutes or so, I think. So there's a lot to cover, and we're still going to cover all of it, I promise. But I highly suggest that this week you just create an account and play around with it. There's tons of tutorials, there's tons of other games and creations and programs that everybody else has created, and I encourage you to explore. The best way to learn about computers and science in general is just by exploring and figuring out how it works. There's all these different sections. All you have to do is go to your events, bring out the one green flag clicked, and put any of these blocks. As long as they have those little connection things, as long as they connect, just drag them out, see what they do. This one makes the cat say hello. Just experiment. And don't be afraid of anything. You're not going to break it. If you're scared around computers, trust me, it's going to break. Computers can smell fear. Don't fear the computer and you'll be just fine. There's tons of stuff to learn, and I hope you are all going to enjoy this as much as I do.